All right, Mr. Emmit Russell, sir, thank you so much for making the time to do this. I really appreciate it, and we have talked just a little bit previously. I got to know you, super cool guy. Like I told you, I'm your fan. You do some beautiful work.
Thank you.
I've been following your page a little bit, and I'd really love to share your story of what you do, why you do it, and how somebody watching or listening can follow the footsteps and learn from your story and not give up. Um, so take it away. Let's talk about the what. You can introduce yourself a little bit, talk about what you do, your schedule, the life it
Sure.
takes.
I build furniture, metal art, signs, grandfather clocks, anything custom out of metal and wood, and really just whatever a client, just whatever people want built, they come to me and I build it. Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, I enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. I appreciate you having me on and the props for the work and but yeah, I fully enjoy it.
So, you said furniture? Is this your? Are you working with just metal? Are you working with wood and metal? What is it? What is this
Well,
taking?
metal and wood, and it just depends on what the client wants. And
Okay.
so if they want a little mix of if they want more wood than metal, then we can do that. And if they want more metal with a little bit of wood, I really just try to get a gauge on what they want. And so when I talk to a client, it's more about getting to know them, maybe meeting them in the space that they want the piece built.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, if they have a designer, that's always pretty good because then um, I work well with designers and I do have some design sense, and then I can bring their vision to reality. Uh,
Okay.
so that,
Sometimes a customer, I'm imagining, doesn't always know what they want because they can't envision or see it.
yeah, and so if they want a bench or something like that, it's pretty easy. Sit down. Oh, do you want a metal frame with wood? Or I just recently did a project install for the local mill shop. They sell doors and windows and trim,
Mm-hmm.
and I built a framework to install a three-paneled motorized sliding door system in,
Oh, nice.
and they needed a way to display it,
Mm-hmm.
and I've done a lot of work with them, and they asked me to just build it. So that whole thing I designed myself. I picked out the stain color and decided on what finishes to use, what bolts, and make it look industrial is the look he wanted. And
Right.
so I talked to him a little bit, and that those were one of the words he used, along with several others. So I just kind of get a gauge and a feel, and I'll talk to the client. Sometimes I show them pictures of things that I've built
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and say, you're not going to offend me. Do you like this part? Or tell me what you do like. Tell me what you don't like,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't want to give you something you don't want.
Right.
But a lot of times I get freedom. I get a lot of freedom.
That's awesome. And just having worked with somebody before where I'm relying on the expert's expertise, you know what I'm saying? Cuz
Yeah,
it's like, look, for example, a haircut, right?
I
You
wouldn't know anything about that.
right. Your haircut's pretty easy, but like the barber is asking you what you want, and you're like, oh, whatever will look good. I can't see in the back of my head. I trust you. And so that's kind of awesome that you said you get the freedom. And I mean, the customers see your work and they're like, okay, this guy's know what he's doing. So
So there's a little bit of confidence. I'm sure I don't hit them all out of the park for everybody, but for the most part, the clients always love what I bring them.
mhm.
And so that's mostly that's really all I care about is I just want them to love it. Because man, and honestly, I can't even think of a time that a client hasn't loved something that I brought them,
Yeah.
but I can't imagine how it would feel if I did. And they're just like, man, I don't really like that. I'd probably cry.
You probably like, okay, I'm gonna redo it, whatever you guys
I
want.
would too. Absolutely. I'd completely redo it. Yep.
See,
Yeah.
that's crazy. Well, I hope that day does not come.
Me too.
So that's awesome. No, because usually, when something's custom made, I mean, people fall in love with the ugliest pieces of art. You know, you're just like you're trying to be in the artist's mind and like, okay, this is what he envisioned and this is what looks good. But especially like with metal and wood and things that we can touch and feel, and they see an expert working with it, they know how much time you put into it. You know, the design and the way you probably talk about it. They see like, man, this guy has passion for what he does. So
Yeah, I think that I've been told that before, that, my passion shows. I just get excited about it. And then I walk away going, oh, they probably think I'm a freak show, because
he's
because I love doing it, So, and there's a lot of times where I'm still like, I can't believe I'm doing this for a living.
yeah.
So yeah, I appreciate every bit of it.
So that's a little bit about the kind of what you do material wise. You're you're a business owner, right? You own this business.
Correct.
What is a typical schedule for you, or a week? I know every day is probably super different, but maybe a week.
So while I'm working through a week, I have a notebook that I keep track of everything for the next week, and maybe even further out than that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just I don't have it near me, but it's just a notebook with Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday that I write down myself. And there
Mm-hmm.
might be a drawing in there with measurements.
Mm-hmm.
There might be a time that I got to meet a client, but I try to start the day off at the shop by 7:30 the latest, and sometimes I'm out here at 6:30.
Nice.
I try to commit to a 12-hour day every day.
Mm-hmm.
Saturdays I try to put in an 8 to 10 hour day,
Mm-hmm.
and then Sundays, if I feel like I can take off, I will. But most of the time, I'm at least putting 3 4 hours in. But like in the last couple months, it's been pretty much like solid 12s. Just
Wow, that's crazy.
busy.
Are
Yeah.
are you working for the Super Bowl?
I might watch the halftime show, but that'd be about it. Um,
I got
I'm
you.
not a huge football fan,
Okay.
so I could watch it and I wouldn't even know what's going on for the most part.
Okay, that's crazy.
Yeah,
I think you're the first if I could put this American that I know that doesn't say they love football. So so I guess you're not a bandwagon type of guy. Everybody else, usually most probably are if they're saying they're
yeah,
watching the Super Bowl.
yeah. I tease people, and I'm like, when they ask me if I'm gonna watch the Super Bowl, I tell them I don't really watch volleyball, and and
That's funny. They're looking at you
yeah,
funny.
yeah. So yeah, I don't really pay. I didn't even know who was in it, to be honest. But no, I'm an MMA fan, and
Okay.
that's about it.
That's
Yeah,
cool. That's cool.
that's all I really pay attention to.
Okay. Um a little bit more about the what you do. If you want to go into detail about, I noticed you weld a lot of your stuff. You also you use screws to attach. If we want to go into these details, the wood, what type of wood is your favorite? How you do you have a wood background previously? Were you, now that you're starting with that, or
Yeah, so my background with wood would be when I worked in a motorhome factory,
okay?
and it was a small, uh, locally owned one, and I started out in the cabinet shop, but it wasn't. It was more production type woodworking than it was fine woodworking, and you know, uh, finger joints and things like that. It was more about assembly and just fabrication, just quick assembly work. And
Okay.
I started out there in the cabinet shop, and then I ended up moving over to build the motorhomes start to finish.
Okay.
And so most of my woodworking is from there, and then what I've learned on my own.
Okay. So you started in a cabinet shop. Now you're doing kind of your dream job, what you have envisioned a long time ago, and that's what
Yeah.
we talked about. So let's talk about the why. Why you chose to do this, and I know you chose it a long time ago, but it's only now been how long have you been doing this for yourself now?
I've been working for myself for 10 years.
Okay.
When I moved to Columbia, I told you for my son for the autism resources, and
Mm-hmm.
then for the medical resources for my son at the time who was going through kidney failure. But a few years later, we discovered my daughter was going through the same thing, and so um, when I moved to Columbia, I started my business doing home improvement, hoping and wanting to do custom fabrication. That was
Okay.
always the goal.
Mm-hmm.
And but honestly, it took time. Going through some of the health issues that we've had to go through, we've almost had to rebuild our financial situation several times.
Wow.
It costs money to take time off to do those things. It's just it gets very costly, and while you're starting a new business is also a really tough position to be in as far as money.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it took time to build up tooling for working with metal and doing the things I'm doing. And so along the way of building my business doing home improvement, I was investing what I could into the business to buy tools. Started out in a one-car garage, moving to a two-car or place with I bought a house with a two-car garage.
Mm-hmm.
And in that time I went from part-time building custom stuff to I got a down payment on two full flights of floating staircase in a
Wow.
like big home.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it was an expensive staircase, and so I got a big down payment on it. And I was like, all right, I'm not putting doors or anything anymore. I'm committing to being full-time custom building.
Yeah,
And it was slow at first,
yeah.
but I had this project to do to where I was trying to take on, I could only take on custom cabinets and things like that. And I constantly hustle, whether it be messaging on Facebook to local businesses, or if I'm at a business and I introduce myself to the owner,
Mm-hmm.
or even if I'm talking to somebody in line and at the coffee shop and they say, well, what do you do for a living? I'm like, well, check this out.
Thanks for asking.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I just happen to have a file right here with all my stuff. And,
Yeah, yeah,
you know, it, it's probably not the greatest thing to say, but I always say that you gotta shake your ass like a stripper. You gotta go out there, and it's up to you.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's 100% up to you. Nobody's gonna do it for you.
Exactly.
And so if you wait around for somebody to discover you you're gonna be waiting a long time.
Yeah. I mean, it happens to a couple people, maybe singing it. I don't know. I know maybe two, three people that were singing on the side of the road and got popular because they blew up somewhere or something. But the
Yeah.
majority of businesses, the majority of people that that make money is because, like you said, they were always hustling and putting in the work, putting in the time, and like you said, your 12-hour days on a daily, doing the work, making it happen. So you mentioned your son and then your daughter having kidney failures and the things you guys had to go through. Did did you ever felt like these were the reasons to kind of just give up on your passion, give up on this business, and you know
Man, there things like that creep in my head even today. There's just times where it's like, oh, what am I doing? But I start thinking about I couldn't get a regular job anywhere. That's the real problem. My son sometimes would have meltdowns or just bad days at school, and
hmm
I would actually know that that's going to happen when I drop him off for school. He would
wow.
look, he would just kind of drop subtle cues, and I'm like, man, he's gonna hit somebody today or something. And so he would kind of drop that cue when you get out of the truck. He would say, "Mom picks me up early today," and I knew from experience that
hmm
he's gonna pull a fire alarm, or he's gonna do something to get sent home.
yeah.
So rather than have him ramped up and upset, I'm just like, okay, buddy, I'll pick you up at 1 o'clock. Is that cool? Yes. And he'll go into school and he'll be good all day. but I got to pick him up early.
Okay. Wow, that's
So
cool.
the writing was on the wall for me when I was responsible for picking him up early
Mhm.
and dropping him off to school. I was like, man, I can't. I have 6 hours to install a door at somebody's house or finish up tile in a bathroom,
Mhm.
pack up all my tools,
Mhm.
pick up Ethan from school, go home, and then I would unpack all my tools and put them in my 2-car garage
Mhm.
and then start building things at night.
Oh man.
And so I was doing that every day,
Yeah, yeah.
to make a living, and I'm going to go crazy, and I just kept pushing to sell myself on this custom building stuff, and it was just one thing led to another, and it finally turned into, again, I got that staircase project, and I
Mhm.
said, okay, this is it. Now I've had great support. Like my mom has been really great.
Mhm.
She's helped me. She doesn't necessarily just hand me money, but she's paid me to build her a few things that allowed me to put on my portfolio.
Okay, cool.
It's helped,
Yeah.
a lot. And there's jobs I've taken for nothing,
Mhm.
like and it still continues to pay itself. I've talked about it several times, but the grandfather clock I built for Joe Rogan, you
Yep,
know,
yep. I actually heard him talk about it last week.
oh really?
Yeah, he
And
had he
so,
had Bill Maher on, and Bill Maher asked him, "Where'd you get that clock?" I think it was Bill Maher.
okay, so that deal there, I had people that I knew that were like, "You're crazy for building that guy clock and sending it to him. He's got all the money in the world. Why would you build that for free?"
Yeah,
And I'm like, opportunity.
yeah.
And I had no idea that it was gonna sit in the freaking studio.
Right.
Like I didn't think that was gonna happen.
Yeah.
So there it sits, and that's really just paid me back in a lot of ways. And in fact, the last grandfather clock I sold was an actual paid project.
Mhm.
They're fans of Rogan.
Oh wow.
I just got a call from a guy last week who's sending me a down payment for another clock because
Wow.
he's a fan of Rogan's. And so it's like, it was worth every bit of it. But
Oh
I
yeah.
took that risk. That was a risk I took, paid off.
Yeah. That that's
And
that's awesome.
so I think there's a lot of things that I've done where I knew going in that I might fail, I might not make the money I needed to make, or
Mhm. Mhm.
but it was going to be a showpiece. It was going to prove that I could do it, and and just I had to make myself discovered, not wait for somebody to discover me. I
Right.
think that was the biggest thing I learned, and
Okay.
I think I learned that from Rogan.
That's so. Did you grow up watching Joe Rogan, or you followed him kind of throughout his career?
So I started, I'm an MMA fan,
Okay.
so I knew him from the commentating, but uh, my brother was telling me, you got to listen to Rogan's podcast. And I was like, yeah, I listen to him on the fights, and I don't think I really need to hear what Joe has to say on a podcast. I don't know. I was like, yeah, whatever, shut up.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so then he sent me a link to the one with Graham Hancock, the first one that Graham Hancock was on, and they talked about ancient Egypt and all that stuff, and it sucked me in. I thought it was a great conversation, and then I listened to, like, him and Red Band. I felt like I could really relate to Red Band in some ways,
Yeah. Yeah.
and and uh, and I learned so much about creativity and things like that I went all the way back to the first one, and I just started listening to all of them. And at the time, doing home improvement, I might have been painting the inside of a house
Yeah.
or installing. I had earbud times working alone, so
Yeah.
I would listen to it all day, every day,
That's awesome.
and learned a lot from it. Yeah.
So you used to do home improvements, baseboards, doors. Now you're working with metal and wood custom. Was there like an experience, maybe like growing up or something, where you fell in love with like creating metal work artwork, and how did that happen?
Man, that was a mix of a lot of things. I've always been able to draw. In
Okay.
school, I was, a kid who could draw and paint, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I had friends always, man, you're so talented, you should do something with that. And I'm like, I don't know what to do with it. And then I really just kind of failed at college and got a job screwing down floors in a trailer factory.
Mm-hmm.
And I've said it before, but my brother's like, man, you need to pick up a trade. At the time, my brother was into motorcycles. It was the time that everybody was building stretched out Harleys and all this stuff. And
Yeah.
um, I bought my first motorcycle. And back up a little bit, growing up, I always looked at cars and be like, man, if I had money and skills, I would do this to that car to make it a little cooler. I'd always see how I could refine things
Mm-hmm.
to make
Mm-hmm.
it just neater. And then I bought a motorcycle and I started modifying things on it. I could make it lower and I could delete the fender or make my own license plate bracket and start doing little things to it. And a year later, I had a completely rebuilt, painted, everything older motorcycle that worked great, and I really enjoyed the project.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then I turned out to weld for a living.
Okay.
So I was welding trailers, and then I went from welding trailers to welding conveyor systems,
Mm-hmm.
and then I went from there doing the motorhomes, and then from there I went and built stainless steel food grade conveyors and custom fabrication
Mm-hmm.
um, type things. And also like riding quads,
Mm-hmm.
dirt bikes and stuff like that, influence from motocross. And then, but I would say mostly like my brother, because he's very artistic and he can weld, paint, he can do anything. And so I grew up watching a brother who could do anything. And
Jack of all trades.
yeah, yeah, and pretty good at all of them, really. My
Yeah.
brother,
That
yeah,
that's awesome.
yeah, and he wouldn't accept less either.
So
And neither would my mom.
so
My mom,
he was like a perfectionist.
yeah, and in a great way, a hater, like judgment. He'd look at me like, you need to do better than that.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
but my mom was the same way. If I swept at 9 years old, if I had to sweep the garage, if I didn't move shit out and sweep the garage, like I
Yeah.
wasn't leaving until it was done. So
Wow.
yeah, you get all the corners, all the corners.
Man, that reminds me when I was 9 years old and my mom would tell me to vacuum the house and I literally turn on the vacuum, sit down on top of the vacuum, wait for like 5 minutes, and it felt like it was an hour because I'm trying to go outside and play. I go outside, I'm like, hey, I'm done. Mom's like, what? You're done vacuuming? I'm like, yeah, I'm done. She's like, no, go back inside. She walks in on me the next time sitting on the vacuum. She's like,
Yeah.
it was crazy.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think she broke my ear a couple times, dragging me back out there.
That's crazy.
I probably deserved every bit of it, though.
Hey, we all did.
Yeah.
It's sometimes I think if it wasn't for my parents being strict with me, I would turn out to be some kind of some loser living under a bridge or something. So
Oh, my mom's work ethic to this day, like she'd wear my ass out working with her. A year ago, I did an install for a coffee shop, and my mom came over my daughter was in the hospital at the time, and we had a lot going on, and also had a project that had to get done. Everything was timed,
hmm
and so I couldn't just be like, hey, I'm in a situation here. We kind of had to work it out, and so my mom came over to help. And she's 70. I think she's 72 now. She
wow,
was over like I had her touching up stain and doing, and she's wiping down paint offset from the painters and the remodel, and she'll work circles around you. But
man,
she raised us with work ethic.
that's awesome. And so my next question is the how can I? And you just started it with work ethic. I think
Yeah,
that's something so important uh, for somebody watching and listening. How to start off this decade and to be productive. And work ethic, I think, is the number one key. But then what else would you say? Someone listening and they're like, man, I suck at school. I know I maybe they're artistic, or maybe they're creative, but there's not really a place where they can go apply and make money because you're artistic or creative. It's probably something they're gonna have to do something to work for themselves and stuff like that.
Man, if you're an artistic person, I think that you should just keep trying all mediums, whatever interests you, and don't stop. Because it's once you find that niche, thing that you're good at, that um, you're going to find a lot of happiness in what you're doing and in life. You're going to feel fulfilled. And so, you might have to search for a while to scratch that itch, but you got to keep trying. And it's, I'm 44, will be 45.
Mm-hmm.
It's taken a long time for me to discover that this is what I'm going to do. But all things that I've been doing, working in the motorhome factory, working in the welding places, building trailers, doing things on the side, remodeling homes, all those things have led to what I do today. And so at some point it got here,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it was from continually applying myself. And then I think at a certain point it became focus.
Okay.
Do I, I sold my four-wheeler. I quit going out and doing riding things. I don't drink and party and stuff like that. I don't go
Mm-hmm.
meet the buddies down at the bar. It's all about, so my focus is work, the kids, and, the family stuff. That's always first.
Mm-hmm.
But it really has just come down to work, 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 work. And I don't think it's a real secret recipe as much as it is showing up every day and being real about the excuses that you're making to not work.
Mm-hmm.
And I do it to this day. There's times I come out here and I'm like, I don't really feel like doing this. But if you're in the environment, it takes about 20 minutes. Like, I gotta quit dicking around. It's time to get shit done,
Right,
And
exactly.
because there's either I got to have money in the bank, or I've got a client who wants it done by this date.
Right.
And so if you're not having those real conversations with yourself that you need to get out there and do the work, you're not doing yourself a service, And and once you get good at showing up every day,
Mm-hmm.
even though you don't want to,
Mm-hmm.
and say you don't feel artistic,
Mm-hmm.
what do you need? A cup of coffee? You got to watch a show or something, a couple of videos. Do that, but then realize that you did it and turn around and get your ass to work.
Right.
Just scratch that little itch, but know that you got to turn around and do it. And I think that's being, real about having to have some entertainment in your life or something,
Mm-hmm.
but also understanding that you got to turn around and get to work too. And are you really putting in an 8-hour day? Or are you fucking off for 4.5 and scrolling through Facebook for the other 3.5 hours or whatever?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think just being real with yourself and just show up.
So I like kind of your story because, like, when you watch a movie about somebody that's an artist or something, they go to school for 4 years, they got a bunch of student loans, they get out of school, and then for the next 10, 15 years they're living in their dad's or mom's basement because they can't find a job. But
Mm-hmm.
you're a prime example of this. I have this dream, this is what I want to do, but I also have responsibilities in my life that I need to take care of. So I will take this job that I might not love, or that's not my dream job, but I'm gonna take this job to put food on the table. Also, what you said is all these jobs that you've had throughout gave you this experience, and kind of gave you this knowledge. So now when you have the opportunity to do what you love to do, you have this hands-on experience. You have maybe the connections with the clientele, or whatever path you kind of went through.
Mm-hmm.
So that's super awesome. I'm trying to think if I was a custom metal fabricating someone that wanted to do that, what type of questions I would ask, or maybe there's people that have asked you questions that have seen you, kind of about
I,
what you do.
I get a lot of messages, people saying, "Hey, I want to do what you're doing. How
Mm-hmm.
do I get started?" And
Okay.
man, that's a deep question. You know, there's I would view like, well, what's your skill? You know, and I think it's you got to be good at what you do, and I think to be good at what you do, you got to love it. You got to want it. And the whole going to school, the art school thing, I think that art school has its place, but I also think that there's a little bit of if you got to go to school to be an artist, you might not be an artist.
That's
You
a
know,
valid point. Yeah.
now if you're going to go to school to be a graphic artist and you have some artistic ability, that makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're just somebody who is, I want to be an artist and you can't paint or draw, you might have a tough go, you know? And
Yes.
because I don't think it's naturally in you. But that's just my feel. I almost every designer that I work with can draw, can
Okay.
sketch, can, so, I think that you're born with some kind of, my mom says that she's not an artist at all. She can't draw a stick figure, but my mom was a hairstylist for years and she was really good at what she did.
Okay.
And so I do believe that she was an artist.
Okay.
She found a functional way to be an artist,
Okay.
and that's what I've done. I could make artwork all day
Mm-hmm.
and it'd be in my basement collecting dust. I
Yeah.
don't want that. I want to be a functional artist, a living paid artist,
So yeah, do things you love, but also things that are appreciated by others and make you a
right.
living.
I
So
could make a really crazy looking scrap art thing and be like, I want $10,000 for that. And guess where that son of a bitch is going to sit forever?
in the
In my
garage or in the
front yard.
basement. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Ex-
So if you're an artist and you're like, I want to build only what I build, good luck.
yeah.
If you really want to be an artist and you want to make a living, then you have to learn to build things that people want. And so what I'm trying to do is like what Boone County Millwork did, the company that hired me to build the display.
Mm-hmm.
I found ways to make it look, this functional piece look artistic and beautiful
Mm.
as much as I could within the parameters I was given.
Yeah.
And I have clients that come to me and say, like, I'm building a barn door for a tattoo shop.
Okay, I saw that.
He's like, do your thing.
Yeah.
100%. So I just picked out all the stain colors. The framework of it's all whatever I wanted to do. And
Mm-hmm.
so barn doors are barn doors, but mine look a little different because I made custom brackets for mine that I designed and I drew out and I cut out
Mm-hmm.
myself, or I'll have my helper once in a while,
Mm-hmm.
But so you can buy a barn door, but you can't buy a barn door with brackets like mine. And so I'm taking the opportunity to make this barn door a little different and
Okay.
put my own little spin on it and my touches on it. And so the level of artisticness in that is probably fairly low, but it's still there
Right.
as compared to like a sculpture of whatever.
Yeah. 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 No, I agree. So have a dream. So what you're saying to the kid listening is it's okay to have a dream, but be reasonable. You kind of,
Yeah, be reasonable about everything, about whether people want it, um, whether or not you can make a living at it, whether or not you're actually focused and writing goals down and really showing up like you
mm-hmm.
should be.
Right.
And yeah, I think yeah, that would be my advice.
Okay. Awesome. Um, Once again, I think that's going to be a wrap for us, and I want to thank you so much for making the time and sharing about what you do, why you do it. You had an amazing story, kind of where you started to where you're at now, and really all the excuses you had and reasons you had not to be where you're at now. And so I think someone looking up to you can learn from you. And now when they message, hey, I wanna be like you, what do I do? Just like everybody else, you got to start from the bottom and go up. Where can people find you? You have a website, Instagram?
Yeah, at Russell Built,
Mm-hmm.
RussellBilt,
Okay.
and then it's russellbuilt.com, and Russell Built on Twitter, Russell Built on Facebook,
Okay.
all spelled the same way.
Okay. And
Yeah,
if somebody wants something custom, do you have a catalog of things, or they just kind of have to draw you something? How does that work?
usually a phone call would really kind of get us down. I can
Okay.
typically give you an idea of a budget if you just tell me roughly what you're thinking, what you want, a rough size,
Okay.
and what you want it to do.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks a lot for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
Awesome. It was my pleasure, sir. Really, it was my pleasure. All right, I'm gonna let you go. Have a good night. I
All
think
right.
it's 6 o'clock here, so it's 8 o'clock in Missouri now.
Yeah, I still got one more coat of spray to throw on. So I sprayed before we talked on the phone.
Uh,
So now it's cured, and I got to do the second coat, and I can go inside.
all righty, man. Have a good one. Take it easy.
Thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Bye bye.